I'm decorating for Pride with a little help from my Cricut machine. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to craft a Pride-themed paper flower shadow box. These rolled paper flowers are so fun to make. I've also prepared a bunch of awesome hand-lettered designs for you that you can apply to the glass of your shadow box. Now, if you're new here, I'm Kim, and welcome to Sweet Red Poppy. If you love to craft, be sure to subscribe to my channel. A big thanks to Cricut for sponsoring this video. Let's go ahead and get started. First, go ahead and get your Cricut cutting machine out. I'm going to be using my Explore 3 today, but really you could cut this project on any Cricut cutting machine. Now, if you plan on using Cricut Joy or Cricut Joy Extra, you will need to resize your design just to be a little bit smaller. For Cricut Joy, it'll need to be no wider than 4.5 inches. For this project, you will need the following supplies: a fine point blade, a standard 12 by 12 inch cutting mat, 65 to 80 pound cardstock, hot glue gun and hot glue sticks, one shadow box frame. I used a 19-inch by 15-inch frame, vinyl, transfer tape, rubbing alcohol, a lint-free towel, a weeding tool, a scraper tool, a small wooden dowel to curl the petals, and a paper quilling tool to roll your flowers. Finger guards are also a great idea if you want to prevent burns from hot glue. They are like a little finger lifesaver. I'm going to link to the SVG files and the supplies that I used for this project in the description of this video down below. To get started, open up Design Space and head to my profile, Sweet Red Poppy. Here you can find all of the shadow box rolled paper flower files, and they are on Cricut Access. Now, if you don't know what Cricut Access is, it's an in-app paid subscription with Cricut. Members who sign up for Cricut Design Space are going to unlock exclusive features, so they'll have access to fonts, 750,000 images, and customizable projects that will help you create and explore with your machine. I designed my paper flower to fit 6 to 7 flowers across and then 6 down when you're using a 19 by 15 inch frame. You will need to cut 6 flowers of each color of blue, red, and yellow, and then 7 flowers of purple, green, and orange. I'm making my flowers a little bit larger than the Design Space project, and all of my flowers are going to measure just under 12 inches each. Later in this video, I'm going to show a method that I use to calculate how many flowers you'll need, depending on the size of your frame or depending on the size of the flower you cut. Let's click Make It in Design Space and start cutting out our flower pieces. Pro tip, I always cut a few extra flowers just in case one of them gets damaged during assembly. Let's start by removing the clear liner from the Cricut mat, and then we're going to set that aside. Now place your cardstock paper onto the mat and press it down firmly on the paper. That's going to adhere really nicely to the mat. This step is really important when you're cutting out cardstock, especially in intricate design, to make sure that you get the best possible results. Insert your mat into the Cricut machine, and let's go ahead and press that play button. Once the machine has finished cutting the design, remove the mat from the machine. Repeat this process until you've cut out all of the pieces for your shadow box. Next, we want to carefully remove the mat from the cardstock, and this is going to avoid damaging our flowers. So grab your mat and peel it back away from your flower. Once all of your flower pieces have been cut out, use a wooden dowel or a Cricut scraper, and we are going to curl the petals. That just gives them a little bit of shape. With the petals and all of your pieces curled, it's now time to start rolling your paper flowers. Go ahead and grab a quilling tool or a pair of tweezers, and we're going to place the outer end of the paper flower piece into the slot of the tool. Now roll the flower so that the petals you shaped in the previous step are curled away from the center of the flower. You can begin rolling the paper flower around the quilling tool until you get to the end of the piece. Remove the rolled paper flower from the tool and then turn the flower over. You're going to add a little bit of hot glue to the bottom of the rolled paper flower, flip that circle tab over, and meet those together. Now, you've just made your very first paper flower. You can speed up your paper flower making process with this clever little hack. I attach my quilling tool or even a bobby pin with my little sewing attachment, and then I insert it in here. I take my drill and I let it do all the work for me. Next, grab the back of your frame and arrange your paper flowers. I've arranged mine so that I have 6 rows offsetting each other. I started with purple, blue, green, then yellow, orange, and red. Now I like to arrange all of my flowers before I start gluing them in place, just to ensure that the placement is right and everything looks evenly spaced. So go ahead and get them all onto your canvas. And then once you're happy with how everything looks, let's start adding some hot glue to them. This is what my frame looks like so far with everything glued into place. Now before adding a hand letter design, you'll want to clean that glass, and you can use rubbing alcohol on both sides. That's just going to get rid of any dust or debris. You could use a coffee filter or a lint-free towel or a paper towel. Choose one of my hand letter designs to apply to the front of your frame and go ahead and cut it out on your cutting machine. Once the design has been cut, weed the design using a weeding tool and apply transfer tape to it. Decide where you want to place your design, then apply the vinyl to the glass. Use a scraper tool to secure the vinyl to the glass, and then carefully remove the transfer tape. Finally, it's time to assemble the frame back together, and there you have your finished frame. If you're using a different sized frame or a different sized flower, here is my method for calculating how many flowers you're going to need. First, cut and assemble the flower at the size that you want. Then you can measure the width of the flower. Measure both the width and the height of the inner part of your shadow box frame. Take the width of the frame and divide it by the width of the flower. For example, if your frame is 12 inches wide and your flower is just 1.5 inches wide, you would need to make 8 flowers to fill up the entire width. Take the height of the frame and divide it by the width of the flower. For example, if your frame is 14 inches high and the flower is 1.5 inches wide, then you would need 9 flowers. Now I want you to take the number of flowers for the width and multiply it by the number of flowers for the height. So 8 times 9 is 72. Thanks so much for watching this project. If you enjoyed this, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Pinterest. If you want some behind the scenes looks, find me over on Instagram. Another big thanks to Cricut for sponsoring this video. Happy crafting!